Today, on Be Something Wonderful, forget trying to believe it and do this instead. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. Here we are in Cusco, Peru, with another big video. Had a really big session yesterday with this client, and her question was, Tom, how do I believe? And you know, how do I have that faith that it's done? And then her follow-up question was, what if it's not meant to be? Well, I want to talk about all of this today and more. And I really want to talk about forget trying to believe it and just move to knowing it. Remember, your heart doesn't have to believe and doesn't doubt, it just knows it. Right? Stop trying to believe it and move to the knowing, move to knowing it, right? Allow yourself to have the knowing that your desire will be fulfilled. This comes from New Zealand in reality transurfing. Hear this. Allow yourself to have the knowing that your desire will be fulfilled. Because you have knowing. That knowing within you knows all things. It's all power, all knowing. What if it's not meant to be? Remember, there's no outside power that determines what's meant to be. Only you do. What's meant to be is what you think, assume, and believe it to be. It's all you. There's no universe outside of you. There's no fate. There's no destiny outside of you. You get to determine that, right? And we talked about this idea of infinite lifelines. Right, in infinite scripts. Each script, yes, plays out. Creation's finished. Each lifeline plays out. It's not about changing any one lifeline, any one script. It's about lighting up and choosing the reality that you want to occupy now. Right? So what's meant to be or not meant to be is determined by you, your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs. There is no other power. Right? This thing about maybe it's meant to be, well, that it's only meant to be if you say so. There's no reality outside of what you say so. There's nothing meant to be outside of you decide what's meant to be. Right? So I really want to hit this. And we've talked about this idea. Where does the idea of fate and destiny come from and things that are meant to be? Because of these infinite scripts, these infinite lifelines. Right? And that all those lifelines, each script plays out. Each script is written. So it's not about changing anyone's scripts. There's infinite scripts. It's just about changing your thoughts, assumptions, and beliefs that moves you to a script where your wish is fulfilled. That's what we're always talking about, right? Where there is a belief, there's always room for doubt. New Zealand in reality transurfing. There's always room for doubt. Beliefs can be shaken. Beliefs are shaky, right? Your heart neither believes nor doubts. It simply knows. This is also coming from New Zealand. It just knows. It doesn't doubt. It doesn't believe. It just knows. Remember that all that power, all that knowing, all there ever is, was, will ever be is within you. And it knows, right? It's you that is doubting it, right? What's possible or meant to be for you depends on your assumptions and beliefs. Your I am is absolute faith and belief. I've talked about this in a few videos now, right? When you say I am, that's absolute faith. That's absolute conscious of being. I am. I am that I am, as scripture says. I am who I am. I am that I am. Your I am's absolute. It's written all over scripture. It's what all the ancients say. There's nothing beyond that. What's meant to be is what you decide what's meant to be, right? How do I believe? Just tell me or give me a process that I can do. This is one of my clients, right? And remember, this is like in scripture where the disciples are saying to Jesus, increase our faith. And remember, Jesus never directly answers that. What he says, if you had the faith of a mustard seed, right? If you had the faith as a mustard seed, you can say to this mulberry tree, be pulled up by the roots and be planted in the sea, and it will obey you. In other words, the law will obey who and what you're conscious of being. The law will obey that absolute faith of I am. Wow, that's powerful. In other words, increase my faith. That's what this client was saying. Increase my faith. Tell me how to do it, right? Your faith or belief is already perfect. It can't be increased any more than I am. right? And remember, when Jesus talks about a mustard seed, I left a link to about 4 or 5 videos where I really unpack faith and belief and the idea of a mustard seed as well. And remember, when Jesus talks about a mustard seed, mustard seed was the smallest of seeds back then, or one of the smallest. And it grew into a big mustard plant or mustard tree. But it wasn't about the size of Jesus wasn't referring that just because it was a small mustard seed, that it's a small amount of faith that's required. That mustard seed is complete and absolute faith. It knows, that small seed knows it's a mustard seed. It knows that it will grow into a mustard plant and a mustard tree. It's law. Do you hear it? It's not about a small amount of faith. It's absolute faith and conscious of being I am. That's what the mustard seed represents. It will grow into a mustard plant, a mustard tree, and it's conscious of being a mustard seed, not a pumpkin seed, right? Not an apple seed, but a mustard seed. Wow, that's powerful. That's why Jesus used that. A mustard seed doesn't represent a small amount of faith. It represents absolute faith, complete faith, perfect faith. So it's not about, that's why Jesus didn't answer them directly. He can't increase your faith any more than what your faith is. It's already perfect. It's already absolute, right? It's conscious of being a mustard seed with absolute faith. It will grow into a mustard tree or plant. It has the absolute knowing of I am. And you do too, right? Your heart always says yes to whatever you're conscious of being. It never says no. It always says yes. You're the one that says no with your doubts, right? You don't have to doubt. You don't have to fear. You just have to say yes to that I am, right? And then condition it the way you want it to be. Remember, that's the only fate, destiny, and meant to be there is that your heart always says yes to what you're conscious of being. What and who you're conscious of being is the only fate and destiny there is and what's meant to be. You determine all it. Belief can be shaken. Knowing is changeless and beyond conditions, right? So Jesus was pointing to the absolute faith in knowing who you really are, your truth of being. Faith as a mustard seed is that absolute faith, is that complete faith, is that perfect faith in knowing of your true nature as I am. That grows within you as you recognize and turn to it. Hear it. So the whole idea of a mustard tree plant seed growing into a mustard plant or a mustard tree, that's that faith within you and that knowing within you, that true nature that's already complete. But as you turn to it, as you recognize it, it grows within you as you recognize and turn to it. This is also from the prodigal son, right? Remember, the prodigal son was already perfect, was already absolute faith, was already perfect under the Father or God's eyes, right? But went to a far country, went to waste his inheritance, but then came back, and as he came and rose, the father came to him, right? So it says, and when he arose and came to his father, but when he was still great way off, his father saw him and had compassion and ran and embraced him and kissed him. That's the Father. That's the true beingness of your I am, right? This is the prodigal son. And he arose and came to his father after wasting his inheritance, right? And when he was still a great way off, the father came running to him. When you recognize that I am, when you start turning to it as the only power, as the absolute faith and belief in you, then it comes to you, right? It joins with you. And then there is nothing that you can't be, do, or have, right? Forget trying to believe it and do that. Instead, just know it. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, thank you. Thank you for being here with me in Cusco, Peru. Thank you for liking the videos, sharing the videos. Thank you for joining the membership channel. There will be another video coming today from Cusco. Not sure where in the city. We'll surprise you. Maybe from the hotel room, who knows. More coming. Also, we have an Instagram and Twitter at Tom Kearin. We have a Facebook group, the Be Something Wonderful Ambassadors, at facebook.com/groups/Be Something Wonderful. All that information is also in the description on the video below and on our website at tomkearin.com or besomethingwonderful.com. Creators, with great love, with great light and infinite gratitude, this is Tom Kearin with Be Something Wonderful coming to you on a cold, crisp morning cool, crisp morning in Cusco, Peru. With great love, great light, and infinite gratitude, we'll see you soon.